Let's build a prototype for our game. I'm going to show you how I do it. Here's why. If you want to see what components your game is going to need, you'll need a working prototype. How else can you tell how many cards you need to properly randomize, how many health tokens you need, how many kobold figures your game has to have? You got to have a prototype for this. If you want to play test your game with other people, you need a working prototype. And if you want videos of your game to put up on YouTube or wherever, you'll need a working prototype. So how do we make the prototype? Well, here is an image of my game library. You can see that I really like games. This is only a small part of my library, but that's not the point. The point is that you like games so much you want to make your own. Therefore, you probably have a bunch of old games on your shelf. Your first step in creating that game is to go to those games and steal pieces. When I developed Cthulhu Wars, I used figures from other games to represent the monsters. This image I'm showing here was my Byakhee for almost a year of testing and showing off the game. It did what I needed to do. It was yellow. You could tell it was the yellow sign faction, and it didn't look like any of the other units in the yellow sign faction. And this image was Great Hastur in my original version of Cthulhu Wars. It was useful because it was yellowish, so you knew it was his faction. It was big, so you can tell it's supposed to be a great old one. It's kind of scary like Hastur, and it has wings, so it helped to remember that it could teleport like Hastur. You also note that this dragon does not, in fact, look like Hastur at all. That's not important. What's important is that I have a distinctive figure to create my yellow sign faction for the game. And in fact, in the very first video where I was showing off the game, if you go back to the very first video I did for Cthulhu Wars in the Kickstarter, you can see that that's the Hastur I have because we didn't have the finished model yet, but that's the olden days. So also, like, now I have done games I can use my own things. Like, this is a figure from one of my games. I'll let you guess which one that I used in testing God's War. This is a piece I bought from a store to test God's War. It was the sun god, as you can probably tell, but it's this weird plastic thing. I glued the wood onto it. Now, these were the spaceships I used for the early testing of hyperspace. Knobs, cubes, spools. Look, it's a starbase. I took these wooden bits from Michael's hobby and spray painted them or slot paint on them, and presto, I had a faction. The players just had to remember which of the knobs were the cruisers, which were the destroyers. I had them kind of size rated. So your game might need tokens or markers too. In one of my games, right now I'm doing a game which is about conquering the Earth. So while figures would have been nice, I didn't really need them. What I needed are counters. So you can steal them from an old game, or I can make my own like I did here. Now, my original Cthulhu Wars map was a poster board that I drew on with a felt tip marker. Now, if you need unique counters like I did for this game, my invasion game, what you need to do is you need to get either matte cardboard or foam core boards. This is foam core. Then you can get sticker paper like this, made for stickers. See, they're blank sheets of paper covered with stickers that you can print right straight onto off of your laser printer. Once you're done, you stick them on the foam core and you slice them up with a mat cutter like this. And look, I have awesome professional looking counters that my players think are great, and they can tell I made them. I mean, they aren't perfectly square because I'm not that skilled, but that was great. Now, if you're like me, you'll run through a lot of sticker paper and foam core, so be generous when you buy it. It's a pain to have to go to the store and buy more components just to the moment you're feeling the most creative. Now, if you need custom dice for your game, I think you're better off getting the blank dice with little dents in the sides. They do have blank dice that are flat, but if with the dent and the little indentations, then your markers or stickers won't rub off when you're playing. The simple flat dice wear down and get invisible. So what you need to do is buy sticker paper, print out the dice stickers, then stick them on the dice. Of course, if you can use normal dice with regular pips, that's even easier, but we can't always do that, can we? Now, if you need sieve sheets or hero cards, you can simply print them out. It's probably best to design them on something like Photoshop, but hey, you be you. If you can print on cardstock, that's useful because then they're kind of stiff. So this is one of my games looks like right now with dinosaurs. It's in the early stages. You can see I've got plastic figures. You can see some custom dice in the left of the picture, some cardstock bits, and the paper hero sheet. Private Hamblin is the guy I've got on top, but there's a lot more underneath him. That shows what my prototypes look like in the early stages. Now, cards are super easy. You just print them out on paper and then cut them up, then slide them into card sleeves. Here's a game. Here's a card. It's actually the Indian flag. I'm sorry, I don't know if green's on top or orange. I apologize to people who are Indians, but I just had this piece of paper that I slide in to the card sleeve. Now, if you need the stiffening, you can back them up with a regular card from a deck of playing cards. I've used a Magic Gathering land card here because I was able to get a lot of these from my game store, but it doesn't matter what you use. It's just now it's stiff and it works. If you need two-sided cards, you get the fully transparent card sleeves and then put another sheet of paper on the back for the other side. The important thing to remember with cards is there's two most important sizes for cards. There's poker side cards, which are like this for the big cards. Sometimes you might want smaller cards, maybe because they're going to go on a sheet or on something else where you need something smaller. Now, if you need to shuffle those smaller cards, then really 2.5 by 1.5 inches is the smallest you can go. If you want cards smaller than that, I'd suggest you use cardboard tokens instead. And if you need to randomize the cardboard tokens, throw them in a cloth bag like I use for the Cthulhu Wars Elder Signs. So now, with all these things together, you've got counters, foam core counter pieces, reused plastic figure, maybe wood, poster board map, cards, and so forth. What next? The next thing is to get some people to play your game while you watch. That's the topic of our next video.